crew of Discovery was awakened for Flight Day 7 to continue outfitting the two major pieces of hardware brought up on this flight for the International Space Station: Pressurized Mating Adapter 3 and the Z-1 truss. The day featured the third of 4 planned spacewalks, a spacewalk that paved the way for installation of the station's large solar arrays to be brought by Shuttle Endeavour in early December to provide massive power to the new station. As Commander Brian Duffy and Mission Specialist Koichi Wakata filmed them with an IMAX camera, Mission Specialist Leroy Chow and Bill MacArthur suited up for their second spacewalk of the flight. After breathing pure oxygen to prepare to leave Discovery, Chow and MacArthur exited the shuttle's airlock and began their first task: installing 2 current converter units to process power that will be generated by the solar arrays. With assistance from robot arm operators Wakata and Mike Lopez Alegria, Chow and MacArthur unfastened the converter units from their stowed locations in Discovery's payload bay and carried them to the Z-1 truss for installation. There, Chow and MacArthur prepared their tools and began the converter unit's attachment. After the hookups were done, flight controllers activated heaters, tested the converters, and confirmed they were ready to go. The spacewalkers then turned their attention to final cable connections on both the Z-1 truss and the newly installed docking port, Pressurized Mating Adapter 3. They connected and reconfigured cables to route power from PMA-2, where Discovery is currently docked, to PMA-3, the docking port for the next shuttle, Endeavour, in early December. MacArthur and Chow then attached a second tool storage box on the Z-1 truss, providing a place for the tools and spacewalking aids that will be used during upcoming assembly flights. MacArthur retrieved a bag of tools and hardware attached to the Unity module and placed it in the storage boxes. The tools were temporarily stowed on Unity during a May 1999 spacewalk during STS-96, the first shuttle docking with the International Space Station. The spacewalkers next moved a keel pin on the Z-1 truss. The fixture was needed to secure it in the payload bay, but is no longer necessary, so it was moved to avoid interfering with future work on the station. After that task was complete, Chow and MacArthur put away the tools they had used and returned to Discovery's airlock, completing a 6-hour, 48-minute spacewalk, setting the stage for future on-orbit construction and the arrival of the first resident crew of the space station in early November. Later, Duffy completed a second boosting of the station's orbit by pulsing the shuttle's reaction control jets 18 times over a 30-minute period. The crew then prepared for the next day's planned 4th and final spacewalk of the mission. That spacewalk will complete more setup on the Z-1 truss and demonstrate a safety jetpack system for untethered spacewalking astronauts.
Good morning, Discovery. Let's do it again, Billy Mack and Leroy.
Good morning, Gerhard. And it's a great day to be a soldier and a great day to be on this crew, and we're looking forward to a great EDA.
And Ellen, we're downlinking some video from the IMAX filming this morning. Here you can see Brian and Koichi running the IMAX camera.
We see that. It's impressive.
Yeah, it's quite a camera. And here you can see a shot of what we're filming.
Could you see any? Keep going forward. Okay, coming forward. Keep going. About another foot or so. Okay, coming forward. Coming. 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 Stop there. Stopping. Please come, come a little orbiter up out of the bay. Okay. Cancel that. Roger. And Bill, before you leave the area of the port ETSD, give me a holler. Okay. It is just amazing to look at your feet and see clouds going by. Simply amazing. Okay, Jeff, sorry, Jeff, small fast bag is stowed. Copy. Jeff, I've got one bolt partially driven, so I'm going to go up and put the other one in before I drive. Queech, let's go up out of the bay and about foot. Okay, up 3 feet and port up. Yes. And this, I'm going to want to come back. Well, just go ahead, I'll just you. Roger. Can you? Yeah, good clearance views. I don't have a good clearance view. I got excellent clearance views. Roger. You're well clear. I've got brake code all over my gloves. And but I'm happy about the brake code because these pins came out. Well, I guess you're just right out for EPA 5, huh? Well, brake code never hurt. Keep going. Okay, out of the bay only. Okay. Can we just stop there for a minute? Stopping. Houston Discovery for EDA tools.
And while we're standing by to get a signal for the repress valve open to end today's spacewalk, these are views that the crew shot during the spacewalk today as we have television through a ground station. This is Bill MacArthur.
And Ellen, here we've got a little downlink of check Leroy working on PMA umbilicals.
Could picture that out the overheads.
Sean, here's a shot of me working on the first DDCU, the DDCU 4B. Taking it off the little port wall there. And everything on it worked as advertised. The bolts all came out fine. Once I understood the difference between the two interface indicators, I decided that they were both working properly.
And we copied all that during the EVA. Sounded fine to us.
It's really surprising how masses are easy, even large masses are easy to handle in 0G when you're on the arm. So you see me using a manual wrench to break the torque on the bolts before using the power tool to drive them all the way to release. Okay, Alan, here you see me with the other DDCU, the 3B box that came off the starboard wall. See Bill in the foreground there on top of the Z1. He's assisting me to line that thing up, and then he also helps out with the bolting. And you see how easy it is to manipulate that mass on the end of the arm there. And we had really good visual cues. We're able to get both of those installed.
Alan, and right before Leroy brought the boxes up, we had to remove a couple of the shrouds that were on there. And it was really interesting, something we'd never appreciated in the pool is how much volume there is inside the truss that you really can't see when all the ORUs and shrouds are on there. But it was kind of neat getting to look inside it. It was also interesting today how much more effort was required to do all translation manually versus using the arm. The arm is just a tremendous tool. I think it greatly magnifies the effectiveness of EVAs to be able to move crew members around like that.
And Bill's absolutely right. The way I feel today after this EVA compared to the way I felt after EVA 1, the level of fatigue and how tired I was is just night and day.
And I'm just tired.
Here you see Mike driving me down using Bill's eyes and lining everything up and getting it onto the soft dock there. And there it's soft docked. Okay, Shannon, in this In this scene here, this is an excellent example of teamwork. I could not reach the inside set of bolts. We knew this pre-flight on this toolbox, and so I'd handed my tool off to Bill, and I'm actually helping to stabilize him. I'm in the arm, and I'm stabilizing him while he drives the bolts for me with my tool.
Yeah, this is the second ETSD or EVA tool storage device, which is just a real nice toolbox, which we put up on the one on the port side of the Z1 on EVA-1, and Leroy is just about to do the final release and remove this toolbox to put on the starboard or right side of Z1, and later they will be transferred to what's called a CETA cart. It'll be a cart that EV crew members can use to translate up and down the truss sections of the space station as they get larger. And to keep things kind of oriented, the port ETSD is just above as you're looking at Z1 here, just above, it was installed just above the base of the antenna booth. And while it looks like it's the right side to us, it's actually the left side of the station. And just opposite side of that is where the right side box went, which is, of course, on the starboard or right side of the station.
And Shannon, in this sequence, you see I've released my side of the bolt and my latch, and I've just taken the box here and getting ready to be driven up to the installation point by Mike. Or actually, this time it was Koichi for the toolbox. And I was remarking earlier how easy masses are to handle, even relatively large masses are easy to handle in zero-G, with surprising ease. And here you see Koichi starting up towards the installation point, just coming outside of the installation, or the place where we bestowed the toolbox. And in the NBL, in the training environment, because of the way the mock-ups were, we were never able to actually do this task end to end. And there were a couple of surprises that some of which we found pre-flight just by looking in the VR lab and thinking about things like realizing that I was not going to be able to get to those inside set of bolts, and some other surprises like when we got to the installation point, I was in such an orientation that I really had to do a big hip swivel to get my tool onto the bolts, and it's a good thing that our suit has a waist pivot. And Shannon, it was really interesting being on the end of the RMS. On my previous flight, STS-72, I got a chance to ride the RMS as well, but I was pretty much inside the payload bay, just slightly above it. And this was a whole new experience, being out over open space, basically with no visual reference to the orbiter or anything else, and it looked like I was just orbiting the Earth on my own. Okay, here we are coming up to the installation point for this toolbox, the starboard ETSD, and you'll be able to see in a few seconds here the orientation. Because of the limitations of the joint angles, we were unable to get into the ideal position to work on this, and that was typical on a lot of the tasks of our flights.
Yeah, there were several problems that we ran into, or problems just limitations on the arm. Of course, one is the structure itself. We have to be very careful not to impact any of the structure with the arm. And then also the arm joints themselves just have limited range of motion. I mean, it's a tremendous piece of equipment, but it just does have certain physical limits. You can only swing a joint, just like your shoulder, elbow, and wrist joints on the human arm. The shoulder, elbow, and wrist joints in the shuttle robotic arm just have a certain distance to which they can travel, and if you're trying to ask the arm to go to a position where the joints just simply can't bend that far, then you have to stop.
Shannon, here you see we're getting close to the installation. I've had to go to one hand to try to get it in the proper orientation to get it into those soft capture latches there, and then I had to drive the bolts that are all the way at the end of that those two little arms sticking out. Now, because Leroy is the master of EVA on this flight, though, he was able to do these things. And of course, I'm saying that a little tongue-in-cheek, but he's a very experienced spacewalker, and he just really knows his business. And for those of us that were spacewalk rookies on this flight, we learned an awful lot from both Leroy and Jeff. Okay, Shannon, and I can't compliment Koichi and the EVA team enough, but we're also busy on the inside. There you can see Pam and I were reloading the IMAX magazine. As you can tell here, it's not your average camera. That thing has an entire roll of film, which you can see on the right-hand side there in the cavity. Would fill that entire area, and that entire thing is only 2 minutes worth of film at the rate at which the film goes through the camera. So we're really excited about it. It's the first flight of the 3D camera, and we're taking some scenes, interior and exterior scenes, which will tell the story of the construction of the space station. And we're just getting it off to a start, and there'll be other crews that'll be following behind us that will continue to document the changes in the construction of the station as time goes by. Things don't always work the way they want in 0G. They're not quite as easy as 1G, as you can see here, but we eventually got it working just fine.